Alright guys, hello, Juba Gaming here, aka Ejek. I am live almost daily on Twitch, so you can catch me there. Twitch.tv/Ejak, EJAAK. Yeah, this is my character, Balapala, level 96 at the moment. And I'm a dual Auradin elemental charger. So if you guys clicked on the video just to see my gear, I'm quickly gonna hover over everything, but there will be an in-depth explanation of my full build here coming right now. Of course, I have a story to almost everything here. As always, I do these videos from scratch, so there's no preparation, no anything. I will just get right into it. So, I am an elemental dual Auradin. What does that mean? I am using Holy Fire native on myself. This is my aura I'm using all the time. But I also have the Doom and Shattered Wall rune words, which gives level 16 Holy Freeze aura, and together they add up to a level 32 aura. With that being said, I am doing double elemental damage, and my charge damage now is around about 17 to 19k, which is pretty good actually. Quite high amount of damage. But which is way more interesting in my opinion is the additional spreadsheet here. So I'm almost doing 10k fire damage and about 5k to 6k cold damage. With a lot of penetration too. So 43 penetration on fire and 78 penetration on cold. You might ask yourself, or you might ask me, why would I go for a dual element? Because if you would go for a single element, like if I would only go for Holy Fire, I would probably be able to do more damage after all, because you only focus on one single element. But I really prefer to have different elemental damages, so I can basically run every single map. There's not a single map I cannot run. But obviously there are some maps which are way more efficient than other maps. So, well, first let's get to the stats. One into each of the combat skills. I love Joust. Joust is very important for that build. If you're an elemental charger, you always get to resync your character with Joust, and you can also obviously teleport to the enemies with Joust. So for me that's a very important skill. I know some people dislike that ability, but I very much love that ability. I think it's necessary on a charger build, because more often than not you will get desynced all the time with charge, and but I will come back to that later. 1 and 2 might, max Holy Fire, max Bless Aim, max Resist Fire, and max Salvation, because these are the synergies for Holy Fire, and also max the synergies for Holy Freeze, which are almost the same as for Holy Fire. That's why this build is actually working. Blessed Aim, Salvation, but there's also the Resist Cold, which needs to be maxed. So I'm still missing, how much is that? It is 24% damage on my cold damage. Because I'm only on level 96, I need to be level 98 for my build to be completed. So yeah, my final form is still not reached. The video title is more or less a clickbait. I'm still trying to reach my final form. So that's about the talents. let's go to the stats. I mean, it's like always the same. I have to respec again. As I said, I still haven't reached my final form, so it will take quite a while still. So much into strength that you can wear your gear. In my case, the highest strength requirement is on my shield. I've intentionally chosen not to go for a vortex shield, because a vortex shield would need about 148 strength requirement, which would be way too many points in my opinion, because none of my gear needs that many strengths, except the Verdangus, which is 106 strength, which is okay. But yeah, it's just a little bit more strength. Also, it is a perfect base, but we'll get to that. Dexterity. In Diablo 2, you need this dexterity for your block chance, as much as you hit the maximum block chance cap of 75. If you have more dex, it's not wasted actually, because as you see, my charge attack rating is at 3.6k. Rest of the points into vitality and never skill energy, except if you're a Sorg going for energy shield, that is. So let's get to my gear. I hope it will be a long video, but I showcase the gear right at the start, so if anybody's interested and still watching, this is for you guys. Frostburn. Attack rating slam, very much needed. As you just saw, I have almost no attack rating. Unfortunately not perfect on the minus cold resistance, but yeah, it will be quite hard to get that, and we will see about that. So I might start with some different items, but well, whatever. The Verdangos. I found that by myself, slammed that by myself, so I never looked back. The belt is the only defensive item I have in my whole build. So 15 PDR is everything I have. Let me check that on the advanced spreadsheet. 15% PDR. Unfortunately, I could basically go for an Arachnid Smash, but I would be losing the 15% PDR, and as a melee, you really want to have a high amount of PDR, so at least I have the 15%. I prefer to use a Stone of Jordan and a Wisp Projector, self-found, self-slammed, with reduced curse duration. So the Wisp Projector for attacking builds is like almost one of the best rings, because the Spirit, Heart of the Wolverine, provides attack rating. So that's very much needed for my build, as you guys know. Just saw that I have like no attack rating at all. I'm using War Travelers at the moment. This one I found actually on the first or the second day of PD2 of this season. So yeah, I'm wearing them still. Quite insane that if you think about it. But I will switch these boots and hopefully craft some nice high magic find and try res boots. Fire, cold, lightning resistance, that is. No poison, that's not needed. Skill rings, as I showed. Ormus ropes, like almost every single elemental charger nowadays plays with Ormus ropes. Except, of course, if you're going for a double dragon hand of justice approach, then you have a dragon shield, dragon chest and a dragon shield instead. I have 14 cold and 14 fire skill damage on that rope, and socketed with 2 perfect fire facets and 1 perfect cold facet. Kiro's Guardian, same story, just a different item. I have socketed with 2 perfect fire facets and 1 perfect cold facets, because we are doing double elemental damage. My amulet is a double leech, double resist and magic find one, 3+ amulet. So I really wanted to have a 3+, because that's quite a lot of damage. And also the oil skills is important, and which is also very important to paladin skill levels. I could just go for an amulet with, for example, 2 or 3 or even with a slam 4 plus 2 offensive auras, but then I would be losing attack rating, because every single point with all skills boosts all of these skills, zeal and charge, and every single point into there boosts your attack rating. So that is quite good to know and to look out for. Alright, so the Doom, Holy Fleece Aura. I'm pretty happy with that roll on the Doom, actually. If I've put that in a 15% base. I just don't know the numbers exactly right out of my head. Also, I forgot to mention on the Verdangus I slammed the attack speed, which actually brings me to the third last breakpoint for zeal and charge. I don't think it's necessary for charge to have more attack speed, but it helps with the attack speed. So back to the Doom. Minus 46 enemy cold resistance. That's the most sought after stat anyway. So I've got pretty lucky on that roll. I'm quite happy about that. And the Shattered Wall, which didn't roll that good. Life could be going from 125 to 175. So it's kind of in the middle. Not too good, not too bad. Still happy about the base. Ethereal Crust Shield with 30 all resistances. If you're ever going to use a Shattered Wall, I would suggest you guys to use a 30 all resistance base and the Ethereal one, obviously, because of the Zod. Yeah, that was all about my items. On weapon swap, I'm using a CTA with in a War Scepter base with 3 to Holy Shield. So every time I'm casting Holy Shield, I will just weapon swap and cast the Holy Shield, because the reasoning is I have a little bit more of defensive and a little bit more block chunks too, actually, having 17 on the Holy Shield and instead of 13. So that's quite a difference. And in my offhand I have a random 2+ skill shield. I could opt out for a 3+ at some point, but this will be my last upgrade, if ever. I'm using a couple of offensive aura skillers. How many are that actually? 3, 6, 8. Torch and Annie, obviously. But I'm also using 2 cold damage large charms, and 1 fire damage large charm, because I really want to boost both the damage of my elements. And if I remove them, I would be doing 5.6k end damage on my cold, and also a little bit of fire damage here. I would gain a little bit more damage, but yeah, I just love to have the double element damage boosted. Also quite happy about that Annie Slam. There's also a video on it. Yeah, it's actually the very first Annie I've slammed in PD2. I usually prefer to buy a ready one, like a corrupted Annie, the seasons before. But yeah, first slam on the Annie, got really lucky on that. That was all about my gear. Weapon swap, everything told. Now get to my merc. He's basically just a stat stick for myself. So he's using an Infinity, obviously, because I can't use Conviction on myself since I'm using the Holy Fire Aura on myself. He has a pretty good roll on the Infinity. Actually, 1 off enemy lightning resistance, which is not that important anyway, but quite good amount of enhanced damage. I've put that in a Ghost Spear. The bases on in PD2 are not that important, actually. There's quite a good thread on Reddit where somebody calculated which is the best base, but you also have to keep in mind how much attack speed can you get on your merc. for the weapon to be effective. So in my case, he's having 20 attack speed, 40, and 70. Plus the attack speed on the... There is no attack speed on an Infinity. Okay, I didn't know. No, there isn't. Yeah, well, Lava Gout, because if he's attacking, he's giving me the Enchant Fire, which also boosts my attack rating, which is important. I'm wondering, why do I have only 7.7k charge attack rating? This will swap if he's boosting me with the Enchant Fire. Nosferatu's Coil, Shaft Stop, one of the best armors for mercs. Marrow Walk, so he doesn't get frozen. And a plain slammed with 15 Oil Res Vampire Gaze. So with these two items, he gains 47% damage reduction. Actually, the most important stat for a melee merc, that is. Because caster mercs don't need that much physical damage reduction. Alright, so I've gone over everything. Talents, build and stuff. Now I will get to some minor adjustments. At the moment, instead of the SOJ, I am wearing a Nagel ring, actually. And it is a perfect one with 40 MF. Actually, that's also quite a little bit of attack rating, because I'm using the Nagel. Still. Yeah, I will get to 8k attack rating if he's boosting me with the Enchant Fire. And the reasoning behind that Nagel is because it has 1 mana after each kill and 3 life after each kill. And my build is lacking sustain, and that's the whole point of making this video actually. I am not suggesting to anybody to play an elemental charger in PD2 right now. Yes, they've buffed the skill, as they said in the patch notes, that you gain more splash damage the farther you're away from the enemies. So if I jump from here, and it has a pretty big splash radius. And you can also charge like right in front of an enemy, and he still will use charge, which wasn't the case back a couple of seasons ago. Can't confirm that actually, but still. So that's yeah, there's quite a few negatives about that build, which I will just get right into. Actually, let me do that right here. I don't want to waste these. I'm sorry for the minor inconvenience here. If I'm charging, you can see my potions actually turn red. What does that mean? It means I can actually not use potions while I'm charging. And it wasn't the case back in Season 1. Season 1 was the last time I played an Elemental Charger. So I can only speak for that, actually, for the Season 1. I don't know if it was in Season 2 or if it was in the other seasons like that. But I'm just saying, since this season, you literally can't. Now I did, because, yeah. Because, like, you can't use potions while charging. It's insane. You literally have to stop. I mean, you can. It's sometimes you can't. You're able, but it's like insane. If you're mapping and you're charging around all the time, and you can't use potions, like, it doesn't make any sense to me, man. It like literally doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to bash on the developers, because they do it in their free time, and the modification, the Project Diablo 2 is completely free. So I don't want to come off here as bashing the developers. But please, just put stuff like that in the patch notes. I wouldn't have made a charger if it wasn't from if I would have known that you can't use potions while you're charging. I mean, it's fine if it's not possible if you're using whirlwind, because with whirlwind you actually leech off the enemies. But as an elemental charge build, there's just no way you're gonna leech, except of course if you're doing a physical charger, but then you would go for a way different build. So yeah, that is one problem I have with that build. Not being able to use potions while you're charging. The next problem I have with that build is it goes hand in hand with the desyncs. Like, obviously the desync issue can't ever get solved, right? But with the desyncs plus not being able to use potions, you sometimes charge in a pack, you try to charge it for like literally 3 to 5 seconds, and it doesn't do any damage, but somehow the enemies still are able to hit you. And all the time you can't use potions. So yeah, you have to be really on point, you have to be really on the edge, to be very careful, to see that you're not dying. And every time you want to use potions, you have to stop charging, which you don't really want to do actually. You always want to charge. And that's also one of the things. If you're going for a map, I'm just gonna go for the Bale run here. It is possible with charge to just hold right click and let the magic work. It is possible. But I have found it is way more efficient to separately click every single time. I don't know if it's just my imagination or if it's really like that, but I have a feeling. See, if you're clicking every single enemy, it is way more efficient than just holding charge. Because sometimes with just holding charge, you sometimes just not hits them. I mean, the enemies are a one-shot anyway, because my auras almost one-shots them. Only the damage of my auras one-shots them. We can just test it right here. Would be interesting to see actually. Okay, the Souls not so much. The skeletons are one-shot of my aura. See how much damage I'm doing? It's insane actually. It's quite interesting to see, man. Yeah, the skeletons are one-shot of my double aura damage. So yeah, it's... In my opinion, the build has just too many downsides for, yeah, like to be an S tier build. I bet most of you guys saw Dark Humility's tier list. Yeah, but he put that build on S tier. I will put that build on S tier if it wasn't only for the clear speed. Clear speed, definitely S tier. Survivability, issues, everything else is not S tier in my opinion. Like survivability is like a C- or anything, because with an elemental charger you really need the specific items. And I was talking the other day with a viewer of mine that it is the same story with the Vengeance build. If you're going for a Vengeance build, you need very specific items for it to shine, and these items don't provide any tankiness. And this is the biggest problem of Paladin actually. If you really want to do some big damage numbers like I am doing right now, you're gonna have to forget about the crazy tankiness items, right? Vedangus is my only item which provides me tankiness, 15% PDR and 38 vitality. So yeah, so many downsides to that build. I wouldn't suggest anybody to do that. And also, since my build is the dual Auradin, it is also quite a not efficient approach. I would rather maybe go for a triple Hand of Justice dual Dragon, and then, for example, maybe go native Holy Freeze, or better, I think, would be Holy Shock going native Holy Shock. Yeah, I didn't min-max anything. I don't play with pluggy. I just have a build in my mind and I will try to do that. So that's how I usually play these games. Of course, I will make some, I will put a lot of thought into that. But yeah. So I think almost everything is said and done. And not about that only. I'm still not ready with the RANT, guys. The RANT. The charging, not being able to use potions. Desyncing issues, which will never get solved because it's just a skill in itself and the game mechanic that you always desync back to where you stood like 5 seconds ago. But there's also the charging bug, which I don't understand why they always put that in the patch notes. The charge bug is not fixed, guys. Sometimes you still freeze in place until an enemy hits you or you use weapon swap. I can recall Senpai himself saying almost every season the charge bug is fixed, but they never fix it. And please, if anybody of you devs are listening, I don't want to bash on any of the devs. I enjoy the mod. I love this mod by all my heart. And I will suggest everybody to play that mod. But please don't put something in the patch notes that is not done. Or if it's not fixed, just don't put it in the patch notes. If you're saying the charge bug is fixed and it is not fixed, just please don't put it in the patch notes. And there's not only the charge bug, actually, which prevents you from moving and just staying still and freezing in place. There's also another charge bug, which I don't know if it's a new one or it's an old one. I can't recall if I had that in Season 1. But sometimes you would get stuck in an infinitely long charge animation. Like, charging is quite fast, and sometimes you charge to an enemy that is quite far away, and it will literally would take going from here to the end of the screen like 5 seconds, because he would go into like slow motion and charge in slow motion. And while you're in that stuck state, in that slow motion state, I don't know if you can just weapon swap, but at the moment it never got dangerous for me, but you can't use potions while you're in that slow motion charge. So yeah. There are quite a few issues with that build. I honestly preferred my martial arts assassin from Season 5. I mean, don't get me wrong, both of these builds are fun to play, and I'm having a great time on the charger. But sometimes it just gets so annoying with the desyncing, with the charge bug, with the not being tanky enough, always being careful, like always being on the edge, always checking, like if I have enough health, if I have like 50% health, I have to instantly use a potion because everything could one-shot me after that point, right? And not only that, guys, now I'm almost finished with the video anyway. See that? Maps without HR. 84. Quite insane, right? How is that even possible? I will tell you guys, you might have watched my last video, which is just called ? And that happened in the course of like 3 or 4 hours. I was literally bricking, like I had slammed 30 items. I was literally bricking 28 of these 30 items in one single day. And also not finding single high runes over the course of that. Like, I don't know what's happening, if it's my RNG or if maybe my loot filter is bugging out and it doesn't show HRs anymore. It's quite insane. So yeah, I'm kind of not really motivated to play right now, honestly. If you're not finding anything and not finding HRs, it's just, yeah, it's disheartening. So lastly, you guys can see I am the eighth place on the ladder right now. Unfortunately, I got some people got over me, got ahead of me. One fist unknown, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was like 5th place, I think. 3 people were farming faster than me. And since I'm mostly playing alone, it's kind of hard to level. Let's put it that way, guys, right? So if you guys want to check my character again, see my gear, maybe on the trade side, Balapala is my character name. Alright guys, the video always takes way too long if I'm making some videos by scratch, but I think I've went over every single thing. I hope you guys enjoy the league, the season still, and we might be playing Diablo 4. I will definitely not buy it myself, so if there's a real life friend who is gonna donate it to me, I will be going to play it and try it out, but my heart still lies within PD2, lays within PD2. It's just my passion, right? Alright guys, the video took quite long again, and I thank you guys for watching. If anybody's made it through until here, I will keep putting up some videos, upvoting some videos for you guys, and I wish you guys burrs and zots and many riches.